You're listening to the British Baseball Podcast. Hello baseball fans, Matthew here again with another episode of British Baseball Podcast, and this week we're looking at some GB focus, a section that I'd like to try and get in there every month to try and build up some hype towards the tournaments that are coming up this year. Everything going well, and we've got the new Under-12s head coach Brian Lainoff on today's show. There's a nice little conversation about his philosophies and some bits and pieces that he wants to bring to the table, and also how you can get in touch with him if you feel like one of your youth players at your club, or maybe you're a parent or a guardian of a youth player and you want them to be considered or looked at. Lots of good takeaways in this one too, so enjoy it, and I'll wait to see what your feedback is. And before we get on with the episode, as usual, if you can like, share and subscribe this episode, it goes a long way to help growing the podcast and getting into some more ears. And if you can also spare a few quid, if you head over to buymeacoffee.com and then have a look for Britbaseballpod, you'll be able to find me there, and for the price of a brew, you can help support this independently run podcast. And without any more further waffle from me, let's get into the episode. Brian, welcome to the show. As I said then in the intro, congratulations on your appointment as the Under-12s Great Britain national team coach. How are you feeling?
Feeling great. Thank you for having me, and I'm super pumped to have this new position and to be able to coach this team. It's an honor, and I'm just excited to get going. We've got 126 days till the U12 European Championships. So there's a lot to do in little time.
Yeah, indeed. So what are you actually planning on doing in a time that you've got before the tournament? How are you engaging with your team of players?
Yeah, so I won't deny that it's a lot to do in a little bit of time, but and I don't pretend to know everybody in UK baseball or every U12 player yet. So one of the things I'll be doing over the next couple of weeks is really reaching out to the UK clubs and UK baseball community to get to know and to learn about the different players that are eligible to play in this tournament. So I'll be counting on the clubs and the coaches in the community. And I'm not going to say that I'm going to do it on my own. I'm going to be asking for help. And so if you're listening to this and you coach youth program, expect to hear from me. And if you don't, reach out to me.
Yeah, we'll make sure we get all your details down to put in the show notes, and wants to get in touch, we can do. You got any advice then for the kids on what they can be doing for the season and the tournament to prepare, or maybe the parents and guardians to help the young athletes get ready for the tournament?
Yeah, absolutely. So from a physical standpoint, the biggest thing that I worry about when it comes to this tournament, because of this kind of loss of baseball over the past year, right? We haven't been able to play that much. We've been stuck inside. Is arm care and body care. So I want to make sure that our players are physically ready to play in a tournament like this, where we're playing baseball every single day. So that hasn't been happening for a long time. So, one thing to focus on is arm care. So if that means going out there throwing with your family every single day, or if that means taking a long tube sock, getting some duct tape and taping around your wrist and throwing into a sock repeatedly, just make sure your arm's ready. And for those that need help in developing a throwing program, GB Baseball has a throwing program for under-12s, and that's something they're willing to share with anybody that wants it. From a physical standpoint, that's one thing, and there's also from a mental standpoint. Right now, in March, early March, is one of my favorite times to watch baseball, and the reason why, and what I would advocate is for all these players to watch as much baseball as possible, is because all these Major League Baseball players are preparing for the season. And so every day they are working on something that's helping them get better and get ready for that opening day. So as a pitcher, I'm a pitcher, and I've been my entire career. I love watching a single pitcher throughout spring training. And the reason why is because they're working on something very specific each start or each time they pitch. And so what I would suggest is for all you kids out there is to pick one pitcher and to follow that pitcher throughout spring training. Watch the game that he pitches, listen and watch his post-game interview, because all of this is now available both in real time and the next day. Listen to what that pitcher is working on, and you'll then go watch the next game and watch and look out for what he said he was going to be working on, because they're always going to talk about, oh, this time I'm going to be working on getting my curveball more effective on, an out count, or hitting that first pitch strike, or working in the outer third. And so track a single pitcher throughout spring training, or track a single batter throughout spring training, because you'll see them actually work on stuff throughout that period. And I think it's just a fun time to watch baseball, also because we haven't had anything to watch in the baseball world for a while, so it's exciting.
I've never really thought of that as an approach to training, like analyzing spring training. That's a good idea. I feel like I've got a bit ahead of myself here. Should we talk about yourself and your background in baseball and your baseball journey as well? You said you're a pitcher and you've been all your career. Your career started off in the States. People may not guess by your accent that you're not from London.
No, not from around here. So I grew up in Virginia.
Yeah.
Played high school ball at a place called Flint Hill. And after that, I went to Rhodes College in Memphis, Tennessee, where I played. It's a Division III school. I played baseball for Rhodes College, the Rhodes Lynx, and I pitched. And actually, I've had an interesting baseball career that's been marked by injury. I was injured post high school. I tore my labrum in my right shoulder, so I had to recover and kind of relearn how to pitch again. And I did that right before I went to college for college ball. And then about halfway through my college career, I actually had a back surgery. Had a herniated disc in my lower back that essentially meant that I had numbing pain down my legs. And so I was doing this thing where I'd pitch a game and then I'd come and get a lot of rehab and some medication and support, and then I'd go pitch next week, and that just wasn't effective. So I had surgery again, and came back again, recovered, and was able to pitch again. And when I finished my college career, I kind of assumed my baseball career was done. I was moving to Italy to work for the United Nations, and baseball was no longer really on the cards for me in my mind. My organization, my UN organization, got moved from Italy to Germany, and during a tour of the city in Bonn, the mayor's office was giving us this tour to, tell us what life in Bonn was like. We happened upon the Bonn baseball complex, and it's a 4-field complex, so it's a pretty impressive thing to see in the middle of Germany. I said, "Oh, that's cool. I played baseball in college, so I'll reach out." And having no idea what kind of level of quality of baseball would be in Europe or in Germany. And the coach reached back out to me and said, "Yeah, happy for you to come and try out." And so I'm thinking, beer league or something like that. And it turns out to be a lot more than that. And so I ended up playing baseball in Germany for about 4 years. And it was some of the best baseball I've ever had in my entire life. The dedication of that community was really impressive, and I have friends from that team that I'll keep forever. And then again, I kind of I met my now wife, who's British and lives in London. And I was tired of flying back and forth between Germany and London, so I moved to the UK full time. And after a while, I think my wife got tired of me being inside and not doing things that I love, like baseball, and said, "Why don't you go find a team to play for? You need something to do." And I reached out to the London Mets, where I was able to meet and play with the likes of Drew Spencer and Jonathan Craman, who got me back to the game. And that's kind of how I've ended up in the GB community as well. And it's one of those things where you don't really expect your baseball career to take you places like this, but you're glad it did. And it's looking back at when I was a 12-year-old playing in Little League in Virginia, I had no idea that I'd be coaching 12-year-olds in the UK about baseball, and trying to lead them towards a European championship. Never on my mind. Never once crossed my mind when I was anywhere near that age, or even leading up to college ball, or even after.
What would you say is the appeal then of coaching the under 12 teams? What was it that made you want to apply for the job?
Yeah, a few things. Baseball has given me so much. Baseball has shaped the way in which I view the world, I interact with people at work, my friends and family, loved ones. And, coaching in itself is a wonderful opportunity to give back and to help shape um, the characters and personalities and individual views and kind of desires and what people are dreams of these kids. And so for me it's a great opportunity to give back. But you know for me the biggest thing about coaching this team is that I believe in the vision and mission that GB Baseball has in mind. I believe in the vision that Drew Spencer and others before him have laid out for the sport in the country. And I think that I can contribute, and I think I can help these kids move up the GB baseball pipeline, get better at baseball, help them achieve their dreams, and also understand what baseball means to the rest of their life and the life outside of baseball and how it helps them outside of baseball.
That's really cool. So who have been some of the biggest influences in the sport for you that have helped you get to where you are now? And how do you sort of see yourself mentoring those youths? Is it going to be bits and pieces from other people, or you got your own sort of vision?
I think, for who's inspired me in the baseball world, first of all, I think, especially at this age, it's important to recognize the contribution that your parents or guardians or whoever helps you play baseball and takes you to games. I wouldn't have even come close to achieving any of my baseball dreams if it wasn't for my dad and mom, who drove me to games, who encouraged me to play, who encouraged me to work harder. And it's their love of watching me play the game that has really driven me in my career for baseball. Um, from a kind of favorite player kind of perspective, I was always a huge Cal Ripken Jr. fan. The Iron Man mentality of just playing as hard as you can day in and day out. And then as getting older, learning more stories about Ripken that were maybe a lot more colorful. He's one who inspired me when I was a kid. When I was 12 and looking at ball players, that's the kind of ball player I wanted to be. But I also, from a coaching perspective, I think the benefit of having played in so many different competitive areas in baseball, whether it's in high school ball in Virginia, or whether it's college ball in the South, or baseball in Europe, I have a lot of different experiences and coaching experiences and different coaches to learn from. And I'll be using a little bit from what I've picked up my entire career to coach. So I think that's important to know as a player as well, is that you're not going to learn everything from one person.
Yeah.
There's enough information in the sport to know that you're going to be constantly learning from different people.
That's
And
cool.
so I'm going to apply that same kind of mentality to coaching.
Awesome. With the tournament just around the corner, how important are wins and losses versus having fun at the age level that you're going to be coaching?
So I think there's two questions here. One is, how important is winning and losing at this age level at 12? And for me, I think it's important to teach both winning and losing. And it's, you've got to be a gallant winner and you got to be a gallant loser. And you have to understand at this age, and you have to learn, because it took me a while, that you're going to lose a lot and you're going to fail a lot at baseball. I mean, look at the Hall of Famers, and if you fail 65% of the time at hitting, you're a Hall of Famer, and you're like a star Hall of Famer. You're like one of the best players ever. And if you fail 85% of the time, you're on the lower side of that. But you're gonna fail a lot. And it's accepting that failure and learning how to move on from that is really important. So at this stage, I want you to have fun, and I want you to learn to love the game, and to love the people you're playing with and the sport. At this tournament, you're representing your country. You're going out there to win. And if you're not, then I don't know what you're doing. Because if playing for your country, playing with Great Britain across your chest, if playing for the rest of your community isn't driving you to win, then I don't know what will. And so, when I go to this tournament with the team that I coach, I'm going to tell them that, every single time that they're on the field and even off the field when we're traveling and preparing for it, it should be to win. And to understand that you might lose, and to understand, that's going to teach you things, and you're going to get better from that. But yeah, I think winning in this tournament is important. It's extremely important, and I think that's the mindset we have to buy into. And culturally, as a community, we need to buy into that as well.
Cool.
So
that's cool. Do you know who you're up against yet?
Yeah, so it's split into two groups. We're in Group A, and we'll be facing Italy, the Czech Republic, and France. In Group B is the Netherlands, Germany, Russia, and Belgium. So we'll have a really competitive group.
Yeah.
But I do think that we can stand our ground against those teams.
Yeah, interesting. And any of those teams that you're particularly wary of, or that you're looking forward to facing out the most?
Looking at the results from the last European Championship, you saw Italy and you saw Germany just mashing teams. There were scores of 20-0, 30-0. So I think I'm going to be on the lookout for Italy and Germany. But all of these teams can compete. As I said, I've played in European baseball for a while now. I've seen and I've played in most of the countries listed. I've seen the quality baseball around. And once you're in the championship rounds of these tournaments, you're facing the best that this group has to offer. So it's going to be tough, but we're going to battle out.
Do you say Germany are in your group?
Germany's in Group B, so the second they're not in our group.
Okay,
that'd be a nice thing for me, is to hand a loss to Germany, having my own experience in that country.
Yeah, that would be cool. Would you be able to tell us a little bit about what a typical under-12 training session could look like under your regime?
Yeah, absolutely. So, there's a lot of different training possibilities when it comes to this group. I like to work quickly. I want to work quickly and efficiently because there's a lot to get to and a lot to get into a day. So I always start the day with an introduction of what we're going to do and mapping out, explaining exactly step by step what we're going to be doing and when, so that my players know what to expect. Starts off into an active warm-up, getting players loose and ready, stretching, agilities, this kind of stuff. And the mindset, so focused on what they're trying to achieve over the next couple hours. Then I like to split into groups, focusing on different aspects of the game, things like fielding practices, working on specific drills, on short hops, long hops, backhands, glove side, that kind of work. In the cage, at this age, I just want to take hacks on hacks on hacks on hacks. I want kids swinging nonstop. I want, when you're a player, you should be trying to get as many reps in as possible, whether that's hitting or in the infield and outfield. And so, I usually split the batting into both live pitch and also tee work and side toss, front toss, and a bunch of variety of drills in the cage as well. And then after that, I like to do speed inter squads or speed practice. So get everybody in the field and we either do a machine or coach pitch with a 1-1 count, runners on base, and just going speed inter squad, speed scrimmage. No breaks, no stops, just going through as fast as possible, and that gets you reps in a competitive environment. And you get to see how kids respond to it. And then obviously a little cool down at the end. But again, I like to move efficiently. I don't like taking many breaks. I want to move from one thing to the next. And I don't want to spend too long doing one thing. I want to kind of move around and make sure that we're getting a little bit better at everything.
That's cool. It sounds like an absolute exhausting day. Can you
if you're not sweating and covered in mud and dirt and whatever by the end of practice, then why are you practicing?
Can you take a 3-year-old for a bit?
I imagine you're getting enough of that already.
Yeah, trying my hardest. So what will you be looking for out of the group that makes a standout player?
At this age, group, I want to see hustle more than anything. There's obviously going to be instances where there's talent there, and you can see mechanically that a player is sound. But I wasn't at my age at 12 when I was playing. I wasn't a standout player by any means. I was skinny and small and scruffy, but I made plays. I got dirty. That's the kind of player I like. Is a player that just hustles and isn't afraid of making a mistake. Just goes out there and does it. And so I'll be looking for those players that have that kind of fearless mindset in their eyes, diving for a ball, even if it's not necessarily one that they're going to make. Hustling on the base pass, sliding to second, diving for balls in the outfield. I want to see that kind of hustle, and that's the player that I want on my team.
Cool, nice. How important at the moment is it the parent and coach relationship at this level?
I think the parent-coach relationship at this level is extremely important. Again, when I was that age, my parents were the only reason that I was there. And that's the same case for a lot of the kids playing ball in the UK. Some drive hours and hours just to play baseball. So we have to, and we should respect that and honor that. So, one thing that I'm going to be trying to work on and trying to achieve is transparency and honesty with both players and their parents. I want them to understand their position on the team and what they can do to improve. And I want their parents to understand that too, because if you can get their parents to support them in their efforts to get better and to understand what they need to do get better, then that's a great resource. Parents are smart people. They've raised a child. They understand how the world works. They can do research and learn the game of baseball. And if I say to a parent that, hey, your kid needs to work on staying back on his back leg on the mound, or having a more balanced approach to the plate, or whatever tip or focus I want that child to focus on, then they're going to research themselves and help their kid get better. And that's the kind of atmosphere that I want to have in my team. I want the players and the parents to know where they stand and what they need to do to improve, but also what their goals and objectives are. So I think that's extremely important.
That's interesting. Thank you. Have you started to develop your own philosophy yet, or is it still something I forgot to ask this before? Are you still trying to build it and develop it? Because you've been pitching coordinator, pitching coach for the under 15s and at the Mets as well. Is that something that you sort of trying to piece together yourself, or have you always had something in mind?
I think from a coaching perspective, I'm influenced by my playing years and the coaches before me that have coached me. So I've been taught and emphasized in a lot of cases the mental aspect of the game. And so in my own philosophy, it's that you can hear that in the kind of let's focus on hustling. Let's look at, in preparation, let's look at these spring training pitchers and see how they're working on their stuff throughout spring training. That mental approach is a key component for my playing and also my coaching. But I think it's one that you develop over time, and I'll further develop. And this is one of the areas this is the first head coach opportunity I'm having, and I'm fully aware of that and willing to admit that I'm going to learn and develop that coaching style. And I think for me, I'm going to be working just as hard. I'm going to be hustling just as hard in coaching, and that's the same. I don't see my playing style differing too much from my coaching style in that regard. I'm going to be a constant learner of the game and a constant hustler. So
cool. You said it's your first head coaching gig. Have anyone reached out to you with any advice so far?
Yeah, and I've reached out for advice from my own from coaches that I've had in the past and friends that have coached. And the first thing that was the most obvious was to build a staff, a coaching staff around me that has experience. And I'll be doing that over the next couple of weeks, is building out that staff, making sure that staff has experience in coaching and in the age group, so that I can be supportive. Again, I'm not going to be doing this on my own. and anybody that says they are is not understanding of the role. So I'm going to be making sure that I'm supported in that way. And from my own experience and speaking to some of the coaches I've had, having that ability to be honest as a coach is important. And I think that's something that I'm going to really focus on as a coach, and try to be honest again with the players, and the parents and my coaching staff.
Yeah, cool. I've got a couple of listener questions that have come through. How are you going to work with clubs across the UK to identify future GB stars? And that comes in from Paul Vernon.
Yeah, and we addressed this a little bit earlier, but again, I don't pretend to know every single U12 star there is, or every single club in the country. So I'm going to be relying on the coaches throughout the country and clubs throughout the country to tell me who is capable and ready to play for GB. So I'll be reaching out to as many clubs and coaches as I can over the next couple weeks, especially when it comes to this upcoming tournament, but also throughout my time as coach, building relationships with coaches around the country, so that we can share knowledge and information. They could share what they know about the upcoming players. I'm going to be trying to attend as many youth games and tournaments in the country as I possibly can. Once we're out of this COVID nightmare, especially, I have a craving to get back on the baseball field. I think we all do.
Yeah.
So I'm going to try to be getting out there a lot just to watch some of these players play, not just in London, around the country as well. So I'm also looking forward as an opportunity to get to know the rest of the country, because I've only been in the UK for a few years. But again, I don't pretend to have every answer. I don't pretend to know every single player, and I'm going to be counting on the community. And I hope and wish that community will reach out back to me and say, hey, Brian, I know this player. Hey, this is something you guys can work on. I'm an open door in that regard.
Cool. There's a great community to be part of, and I'm pretty sure some people will be reaching out to you. Another question comes in from the Duchess asking Paul Kirkpatrick. Can you ask Brian about their chess match in Prague?
Yeah, so I was the pitching coach of the U23s in 2019. We had a great tournament. Paul had a fantastic tournament. He's an incredible pitcher. We arrived at the hotel, and we're all exhausted from the flight and stuff. And there's a chess board in the lobby, and we can't get into our rooms yet. So, Paul challenges me to a chess match, which he then beats me subsequently in 4 moves. And this is a great coaching opportunity for upwards management. I honestly didn't expect him to do that, and didn't expect that out of him. And it's actually great because it helped me coach him later on. He beat me very handily, very quickly. But I got to see a little bit about how his mind works. And so when it came down to him pitching against the Dutch, and me calling pitches, and in a second game that tournament, knowing how his mind works and how he attacks the hitters that he faced, and me on the chessboard, it was helpful. And yeah, we had a deal that if he went 2-0 in that tournament, I'd have to call him my daddy. So that's for you, Paul. But yeah, he's that's my Pedro moment for all you guys who know how Pedro is with the Yankees.
There you go, lovely. There you go, Paul. I told you to ask him. And that's pretty much all the questions I've got. Thank you, Brian, for your time today. It's been great insight. I'm excited for the youth of GB to see what they can achieve under yourself. It's tradition on the show to leave the last word open to the guests. So, you got any shout outs, any parting advice you'd like to give?
I just want to thank the community for welcoming me to baseball in the UK. It's an honor to be the U12 head coach now, and I don't take that lightly. I'm going to work hard to make sure that I play my part and play my role. And I'd like to thank the entire GB community for trusting me with this opportunity, and I'm going to work hard. I can't wait for 126 days until we can to bring home some medals.
Yeah, indeed. Lovely. And where can teams and people find you? Is it on social media? Have you got an email address if they want to send any footage over of players or get in touch with you about any potential stars?
Yeah, so reach out to me at brian.lainoff@britbaseball.org. You can find me on social media as well. But reach out. Happy to help in any way when it comes to developing young players. If you need a throwing program, if you need some support in your club, just let me know. Just reach out.
Excellent. Brian, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Take it easy. It's all right.